1,000 years ago, many millennia before the Moon Kingdom had ever come into existence, there was another planet far beyond our galaxies, a planet called Lejora. A planet where many magical places existed. Termina, the Great Sea. But the grandest and most magical kingdom of all these was the Kingdom of Hyrule. Zelda, the beautiful princess and leader of the magical band of sages, maintained peace and prosperity in their land. The princess also had a rather handsome young hero by her side, who went by the name of Link, the legendary hero of time. The two shared a love for each other like no other in any world, that it would make you cry. They were engaged to be married, but alas, it was not meant to be. Long ago, a man Ganondorf, king of a band of thieving female creatures known as the Gerudo. Several years back he swore allegiance to the King of Hyrule, but his intentions were not all they seemed to be. Already he had such terrifying power, which he used to steal from women and children, and even kill other. But he wanted more. He came to Hyrule in search of a sacred realm that connected the power of the gods to Hyrule. It was said that in the sacred realm one would find the relic, the Triforce. 3 sacred triangles that contain the power of the gods who created Hyrule and the rest of planet Lejora. Before planet Lejora existed, 3 golden goddesses came to the place where the planet once stood. Din, the goddess of power, with her rich flaming arms, she created the red earth, the planet's form and structure. Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, poured her wisdom onto the planet and gave birth to the spirit of law. She created the skies, air, and everything that came with them. Faror, the goddess of courage, with her rich soul gave life to all those who would uphold the law. She created the life forms of the planet. After departing from the heavens with their labors completed, but left behind 3 sacred triangles from where they had once been, and ever since, the resting place of the Triforce, the sacred realm, had always been where it was. Until one day, Ganondorf and his wicked minions declared war on the planet, after sneaking into the sacred realm and obtaining only but a piece of the Triforce from the sacred Temple of Light. He was not pure of heart, and in his actions the Triforce separated into 3 pieces. Only the Triforce of power remained in his hands, but without the other 2, courage owned by Link and wisdom owned by Zelda, he would be powerless to rule all that he sought. Link was instructed by Raruru, the last of the sages, and his fiancée Zelda, to seek out new sages to help band together against all the evil Ganondorf had unleashed. Such a task took him a long time, but the 6 sages all together. Ganondorf was stopped, and the plan was to imprison him in limbo as punishment for his actions, but Ganon had one last trick up his sleeve before he and his minions were locked away.
I may have failed to capture Lejora, but someday I shall return, and then the universe will be mine! 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 Ha! 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 Ah! 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 Ah!
He triggered a powerful nuclear blast to rip apart Lejora's core, and the planet began blowing up, and there was nothing that could be done to stop it. The sages were all dead, and Zelda was gravely injured, but she had just enough strength left to help save her beloved hero. She handed him an ancient medallion, one for each of the 6 sages which contained their powers, and she used the last of her strength to cast Link into a cryogenic detainment. Despite for all of his pleas and begging for her not to do this to him, Zelda gave Link her final possession, the Ocarina of Time, and cast him out into space, where he began to turn into ice in the blue crystal he was encased in. Tears streaming down her face. "Take care, my darling hero," she sobbed. "My love for you is larger than the universe itself." And then it happened! The planet disintegrated and exploded into absolute nothingness! Link felt his heart being smashed to pieces and his tears freezing with his soul. No! 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 He fell to his knees and cried very hard indeed. His home, his dreams, and his beloved Princess Zelda had all been taken away from him. Zelda! Oh, Zelda! Were his last words before he froze completely solid and remained drifting through space, alone. 9,000 years later! As Link, still frozen in his crystal, passed by the moon near a planet called Earth, and the most magical thing had happened. The magic encased inside each of the sage's medallions, still frozen inside with Link, began to glow with a mystical light and shone on the moon. Just like the goddesses created Legiora, the magic of the 6 elements had created the first form of life that led to the beginning of the Moon Kingdom. After crashing on the Earth, the sun was powerless to thaw Link out from his prison of ice for 1,000 more years, before he finally was brought back to life. During the time he was thawing, the 6 medallions had done the most amazing thing. They escaped from the ice and created 6 gigantic, complex buildings and scattered them somewhere in a place called Japan, along with themselves in each one. When Link had finally wakened after 10,000 years of being encased in ice, he had remembered everything that had happened to him. He now lived on Earth with only one of the medallions he was able to recover, and lived inside the one and only place he could stay, called the Temple of Time. As time went on, Link used the magic of his Triforce of Courage on the back of his hand to disguise himself as a civilian, as a high school graduate, which he did not need, as he already knew everything. But he did not dare try and make any friends, partially due to his heartbreak of losing Zelda, and that people may get hurt if they stay near him. What he really wanted to know was, where had the other 5 medallions, and the temples they had created? And if Ganondorf would ever return, which was likely to happen, he may have already possessed 1 medallion from the Temple of Time, the Yellow Medallion of Light. But who would be the new sages to help him fend off against what was coming? And so, our story begins. Meanwhile, in a realm of limbo, Queen Beryl was going around and absorbing the powers of every creature, even the spirits of her old minions. The more she absorbed, the stronger she became. Her goal was gain enough power to rip a hole through dimensions and return to Earth.
Once I return, I will use my newfound powers to make the Sailor Scouts pay for defeating me!
She hissed. When she finally had enough power to try it, she was attacked from behind.
Who dares attack the mighty Queen Beryl?
She growled. A desert man wearing black armor and a red cape stepped forward.
You'll do just fine,
he said in his deep voice. Oh well. He also was in search of a way out of this limbo where he had been for 10,000 years.
I will give you this one chance. Hand over all your powers to me,
he said,
or I shall take them by force.
Beryl was most disgusted.
I most certainly will not,
she snapped.
Do you have any idea who you are talking to? I am Queen Beryl, mistress of the Negaverse.
The man just snorted.
Is that all you are?
He said.
You look more like a beaten-up corpse in a skirt to me.
Something inside Beryl snapped.
Arrgh! I will destroy you for having insulted me!
And she charged forward with her magic armed and ready. She got closer and closer and slash! The man had blasted her with a single small blast which took out her entire center in one shot. Beryl gasped and fell to her knees, and the man grabbed her by the neck and held her up.
You pathetic little twit,
he growled.
I possess more magic in my finger than you do in your entire body.
For I am Ganondorf, the king of all evil, and soon I will rule all. He used his magic to absorb all of Beryl's power. which ultimately destroyed her forever. Ganon had never felt so much power pulsing through his veins. Now the game begins. Ha 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 ha!